Good morning, welcome back to Everyone Can Code, the channel where we're going to teach you everything you need to know to get a job as a software engineer. In this series specifically, we're talking about developing iOS apps. Now, my background, I've been developing apps for about a decade now, so I know a bit about how to do it. And today we're going to start on a series of videos about how to implement a UI using constraints. And so this is going to teach you over the next couple videos, basically everything I know about constraints, and it should be enough to basically finish any type of UI that you might want to build. Now, I'm not going to do it all in one video. There's going to be a couple videos, and if you want to ask some questions, something not covered in the videos, ask them in the comments below, and I'll make sure to cover it in subsequent videos about how to do stuff with constraints. So, all right, let's jump into it. This is a brand new iOS app, just straight from the regular template, and we're going to jump into the main storyboard here. Now, for those of you that are familiar with templates, oh my gosh, for those of you, there you go. For those of you that are familiar with storyboards, this should look really familiar. We just got a little plus button up here to drag out whatever we want. So let's start with just a generic UI view. We're going to dump it in here. Okay, and then what we're going to do is we're going to change the background color of this view, and we're going to spend all of our time in this little bubble down here. So if I select this view, you can set a rigid constraint, sticks it in place in any direction. Now, if I do this, let's actually do it for all of them really quick. Let's go to 0, 0, 0, 0, boop. Okay. You can see that it didn't quite go underneath the top and bottom bars. So let's click on this. This is the, I guess, layout tab is what I always call it. And I accidentally created two constraints for the top, so let's delete one of those. All right, align bottom to safe area. So we want it to go underneath the home indicator. We want it to fill the whole screen. So if you double click into it, you can see there's a few options. So let's actually change it from safe area to super view. And then it automatically will keep the view in place, which is can be nice, but not what we want. So we change that to 0. And then we click back on this. And we come over here to align top to, and we double click into it, and we change this to super view and do the same thing, change that to 0. Okay, so that's not too bad, right? We've got a view that automatically fills up our screen, and it adapts to any screen size we want. So the next thing that you might want to do is, well, maybe you don't always want it to fill up the whole screen. Maybe you actually want it to like split the difference in some way. So for example, navigation bar across the top. This is not a replacement for your navigation bar by any means, but this shows you how you can get sort of the same effect. So let's delete this view and let's drag out a fresh one, just because it's easier than trying to go through and delete all the constraints. Let's give this a color that makes it look sort of like a reasonable bar. And then let's drag it up here, and let's drag it up here. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to say, well, okay, maybe we want something that sticks to the top but stays the same height, like a navigation bar. So I'm going to change this. Oh, it's already set to view. That's awesome. Sometimes, I don't know what the trigger is here. If we go like that. Yeah. So if it's aligned underneath it, it automatically picks a safe area. But if you align it like that, so it's actually overlapped by the camera array, it changes it to view, which is what we want. We want it to stick to the entire top of the screen. So we're going to do 0 on all the sides. And you can even click on these and change these to be 0. I actually don't know if I need to toggle this or not. And this won't matter on enough iPhone size screen. But we set all of these to 0. And then we can come down here and we can do height. So what this does is it makes it so that we always get a bar that's stuck to the top and stays the same height. It doesn't resize. So the next thing you might notice is that it stays big even when we don't have a camera array. That's a little bit more complicated. We're going to save that for the next episode. We're going to keep this first episode to the basics of how to do everything, every kind of layout that's a basic layout. And there's quite a few things you can do. So sticking to the top, this is with a fixed height. You can do the same thing with fixed width. So you can see there's width and height. And so you can do something stuck to the bottom as well, or you can do something that maybe sticks to the left side, like a left bar you would see. So an example of how to do a left bar, just so that we don't leave any bases uncovered here. So we're gonna just drag this into place. So this is obviously gonna look better on like an iPad. So we're gonna go like this. We got a left bar here, very common to have like a split view layout. And then what we're gonna do is we're gonna have 0, 0, 0, and a fixed width. So that pins it, so there's never any, it always sticks to the top and bottom, always sticks to the left side. And then the width is accounted for by this fixed width of 216. And then maybe we don't always want the fixed width. Now I think for split view controller, the width is somewhere fixed around 320. And so you can click on the view, you can hover over that width constraint, and you can come in here and change its constant value. But one thing that most people don't know, and this is a little finicky, so I understand why people wouldn't know it, is you can actually come into your code and you can say IB outlet, and you can say width constraint, name our variable here, and make it a NS layout constraint. And so what we can do here is come back in here. Let's get this width constraint. There we go, it's right here. So if we drag, this is why it's finicky, is it doesn't always like you to be able to drag it. But there we go, got it, width constraint. So now it's connected, and you can actually see, jumping over here, the dots filled. So what that means is in code you can say width constraint.constant equals 200 or 100 or 20 or whatever it is to change the width of that bar with your code. So there's a sort of nifty trick, and you can do that with any layout constraint. So maybe you need it to like slide left and right. You can do that with its leading edge constraint. So you literally do the same thing, but instead we would grab the constraint. Let's see, it's in this bunch right here. Yeah, the leading constraint. So you do the same thing, but you grab the leading constraint, and you can move it left and right using the leading constraint. And it's going to stay the same width as you move the leading constraint because the width is fixed with the constraint. It's not going to change. Okay, so those are, you got a navigation bar, you got a toolbar, tab bar, you've got a sidebar. So, that's not nothing, right? Like you've already learned how to implement at least a basic version of most popular UI components. Let's drop in 2 views this time, and we're gonna save this. This is gonna be where we end off for this video right here. So we're gonna have 2 videos, or 2 views. We're gonna do 1 blue, and we're gonna do 1 orange. 1 orange. Oh, tint, sorry. Tint is not what I want. I want background color. Okay, so we've got these 2 views here. Now maybe what you want to do is you want to make it so that you've got 2 columns, right? So you've got 2 sets of things that stay equal width, so you can lay stuff out side by side. This is kind of common, like a you're a document, like you're making a word processor or something like that. So you want 2 columns. Well, here's a way that you can do 2 columns with views and constraints. So if I open my trusty constraints bubble down here, I'm going to go through and I'm going to go 0, 0, 0, and 0. Now it jumps, fills up what we want, but there's all sorts of red, and you can see that there's even a warning here saying that, hey, I can't lay out left and right because there's a missing constraint. And it's right, because it does know how far to go left, but it doesn't know how far to go right or how wide. And the reason why is this view is completely unconstrained. And so as long as it has a constraint to an unconstrained view, we got a problem. So let's go ahead and constrain this guy really quick. We're going to go 0, 0, 0, 0. I'm going to add 4 constraints. Well, now we've got a problem. And the problem is that now neither of them knows how wide to be because both of them are completely based on their spacing. So, you know, if this one had a fixed width, then the other one would go, oh, perfect, I've got 0 on both sides, I'll fill it up. Or vice versa. If orange had a fixed width, then blue would fill up the whole space. But if you hold Control and drag, you can go equal widths, and it automatically knows, oh, perfect. If the spacing is going to be equal to each other, then what is our width? Well, our width is going to be equal. So it can kind of deduce that, here, I'll show you here, 0 and 0 and 0 spacing. Well, that doesn't necessarily mean equal widths. You could have any width, but as soon as we threw that equal width constraint, why won't it click it? Equal width constraint, it knew, okay, I know how to handle 0, 0, 0. It's by making them equal width. And the cool thing is, I'm not sure if I can modify the equal width constraint to do this. Yeah, so here you go. So you've got this equal width constraint. So you can actually, I think if I do like, what happens if I do 1 or 2 or 5, 20? Yeah, so check this out. So you can actually add a constant and it will say, oh, they're equal width except for this one is 400 bigger. 400 points bigger, which is not what we want. We want it to be 0 points bigger. But the other thing you can do, like maybe you want it to go the other way around, is you can, where's that? It's one of these. Yep, reversed first and second item. So if you want this constraint to be about the blue one, you can say, well, we want them equal, but the blue is always 400 bigger for whatever reason, right? And then if we reverse again, you can see it just makes it negative. So that's another way you can do it. But there you go. That's your first video into doing some basic and actually pretty interesting layouts using Autolayout. Again, if you got comments or questions, you have a specific thing you want to learn about Autolayout constraints, throw it in the comments. But this episode we've covered constraining to edges, constraining widths and heights, and then also throwing in some relative constraints and a reference to a constraint in your code so that you can change things programmatically. And this gives you everything you need to implement top bars, bottom bars, left and right bars, views that fill other views, or views that need to sit side by side and share the space with each other. All right, we're going to cover even more next time, so leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscription, come back and visit us tomorrow where we're going to be teaching you even more. Like I said at the beginning, the goal of this channel is to make it so that you can learn everything you need to be a software engineer, and we're going to do that with these daily videos. All right, thanks for watching. We'll catch you next time. Bye.